I was mentioning earlier on this morning the sad news, and it's yet another sad story on Leaside, and we hear of another iconic shop closing. 1926 was the year that Crowleys Music Centre opened on Merchants Quay, I believe. When all that development was done on the quays and all of the old businesses were taken out and gone and closed, many of them relocated to, well, some of them relocated, few enough of them relocated actually, but one of them that did was Crowleys, and they relocated to McCurtain Street. It was sad to hear the news overnight that Crowleys, under the stewardship and directorship of Sheena Crowley, has decided to close its doors for the last time. And in a very moving piece, actually, that I read parts of it on air this morning to you, very moving, very emotional piece, very much from the heart, Sheena spoke on Facebook saying thank you to everybody for their kind words on hearing the news of the Crowleys closure. She went online and spoke about the fact that she could not change the tide of cultural evolution. And she joins me by phone this morning. Sheena, good morning.
Hi Neil, how are you doing?
I'm grand. I'm so sad to hear the news, and I must say I found it very moving. I found it very sad, actually. The piece you wrote, you must have been heartbroken writing it.
Yeah, I'm heartbroken all the time about it, really, because I could see which way it was going fast, you know. So when I saw so much feedback on Facebook from all the people, because I know they love the shop, you know, all the customers, but I just wanted to express my, you know, the generosity of their feelings. Is great to see that because it's supportive, you know.
You love all of the musicians and all of the street
I
and
actually do.
The glory of what you call McCurtain Street, and you know, it's all about your father's legacy and the Crowley legacy, really. When did you make the decision? Just talk me through that.
Probably finally decided on Thursday, and it happens very fast, you know, the whole process. It'll go into liquidation. So it'll be in the hands of the liquidator, and it kind of, the writing is on the wall in one sense. When my father passed away, you know, business was already changing quite drastically, and it was in difficulty, and I knew that, you know, and I would probably been advised to stay away and live my own life and so on. But I wanted to really keep it alive, you know. I think it's too valuable, really. I think these things online are brilliant for a quick fix, but they're not really what it's about, you know. Many people said to me, why don't you have your own online business? But what I want is to interact with people. I love interacting with people. I want people to come in and learn what we know and share things with them, you know. So I knew there was problems always, you know. From the word go, I would say I've been under stress from the minute that I started, you know. So
yeah,
but officially it would have been Thursday that's decided, and then on Saturday, I wasn't going to mention it in the shop, but a guy was saying to me, can you order me a kit next week? And I'm going, no.
What's a kit?
A drum kit, sorry.
Yeah.
So he was asking, and he's looking at me, and I'm kind of going, I'm sorry, but I won't be able to get in for you. And he's getting a bit annoyed, you know, and I said, well, the story is this, you know, so, you know, you don't want to let people down, but things happen, but...
Yeah, I know. You're referring in your Facebook piece, and you also just did a second ago there to competition and not moving online and wanting to have, you know, the seeing the customer face to face and dealing with the customer, interacting with the customer. You were referring to Germany. Why were you? Is that where all of the online stuff is coming out of now?
Yeah, there's a business in Germany which is, you know, an incredible business. It's a very successful business that everybody in our industry knows of. This company called Thomann, which is something like what would you say, thorn in our side, you know, because they're hugely successful and they target the industry around Europe, etc. So they can sell to our customers directly at an under our price, you know, no matter what.
Yeah, and it's like an Amazon for musical instruments, if you like.
Yeah, but much more aggressive in pricing, you know. Like I was just speaking to Declan Sinnott on the phone because he rang me to express his sorrow and so on. We were just chatting and we were talking about this, and it's just, you can't really, it's like a guy should not buy a guitar online. He should sit down and feel it and touch it and understand. There's so many people who have instruments that didn't work out for them because they bought them online, you know. and they're left in the corner, and it's an awful waste.
Oh, listen. But you know what's happening? There probably is a case that many people are trying the guitars. They are handling them. They're going into shops like yours. And then they're going away and buying them online.
Yeah, exactly. There's a lot of that as well.
Well, they do it with fashion. They do it with shoes. They do it with musical equipment, stereo equipment.
I think it's awful. I don't like that at all. I feel it's very... I don't know. I had a woman rang me one day in the shop not too long ago, and she started asking me particular questions about guitars, and I'm going through everything with her. I'm giving her advice, and then she kind of was asking me so many different models, and I was saying, what you need to do here? Are you looking to buy a present or whatever? And she says, no, I'm buying this online, but I wanted to make sure that I'm getting the right thing.
How rude! That's just
like,
rude.
You're taking up my time here when I could be serving somebody, and she doesn't even understand what I feel. It's
Good
amazing,
God.
really.
I mean, that's a particular form of ignorance now that is not forgivable, I have to say.
Yeah.
When Dad died, had you been in the business, or did you come in? Oh, you were in it before.
I was. I worked with him all... I was away in Holland working when I was 26 years of age, and my dad asked me to come home because his sister Eileen was after passing away, and she'd worked with him all his life. So I said, okay, I'll give it a few years. But I loved being there with him, and I just said, okay, I'll stay, and that was it.
And did he talk at the time? Did Michael talk at the time that it was getting tougher and tougher?
Oh yeah, I mean, I think he had a stroke, and it was immense pressure all the time on him, and I think it's largely to do with that fact, like he wasn't the kind of person, he never put himself before anything, so he didn't say, okay, I'm stopping this, I need to look after myself, but he knew he was under pressure, and he just wanted to keep going as well. His heart was there, it was his home, really.
It was his passion.
Yeah, he grew up at the age of 11, he started running the shop, so imagine that, like, his dad died, and he went straight into the business,
On Merchant's Quay?
On Merchant's Quay at the time, yeah.
Are you too young to remember that shop? I imagine you're probably...
No, I remember it. I'm well old. I'm 46.
Well old at 46. Good God. Yeah. There's no hope for me if you're well old.
Well, I feel after doing the business now, I feel wrecked. I feel absolutely old. But I think, I remember being 4 years of age. I remember being even a little bit older maybe. I remember meeting Rory Gallagher down there. I remember meeting the Dunn brothers. Do you remember the Dunn brothers?
The buskers?
Yeah.
I have a lovely email here, actually, which I just might read out, and then you can just let me know if it's accurate or whether you want to add to it. Eugene says, as you may know by now, Crowleys have closed their doors for the last time. It is well known that it was in there that Rory Gallagher bought his first Stratocaster. It was reputedly the first in Ireland and was ordered from Fender by Jim Crowley, or Connolly, a show band member at the time. Connolly ordered a cherry red Stratocaster, though Crowleys... through Crowleys in 1961. When Fender shipped a Sunburst Stratocaster instead, it was put on sale in 1963 by Crowleys as a second-hand instrument, which Gallagher bought in August of that year for just shy of £100. Along with this, the Dunn brothers that used to play outside Roach's stores, I think it was a fiddle and a banjo. I heard that money used to get, he says, it's not, let me just paraphrase this because it's not written, but he says that they were given all their instruments from Crowleys and they could pay back whenever they had it.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah, it's true, yeah. They wouldn't have been well off, and their busking was their livelihood. So my dad used to say to them, go downtown to Roach's, and when you pick up a few bob, drop it back. And that's how, he worked things with lots of people,
One of those brothers was blind, I think, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was, yeah.
I remember them as a young fella.
Yeah, they were great. I loved seeing them. I remember they loved my dad, and I knew it,
And is that right about the Gallagher Stratocaster? Do you think that's right?
Yeah, that's true, yeah. He would have been in the shop every day after school kind of thing, and he just picked up that instrument and was drawn to it and knew it, and straight away it became his legacy as well, part of him forever,
Let me just come back to you in a second, but I have Jimmy Crowley on hold for a long time here. Very saddened to hear about the closure. Yeah. Jimmy, good morning.
Hello, Neil. How's it going?
I'm grand, Jimmy. I'm sorry for holding you as long as I did, but I was just chatting with Sheena there. Sad news, Jimmy.
Well, my compliments to Sheena, Neil, and it's shocking news because it was more than a music show for us. It was a kind of a chapel of ease in a place where we met, and I have just lovely memories of really brilliant conversations with Michael Crowley about politics and philosophy. He was a very learned man as well as a very well-up man in all kinds of instruments and folk modes and rock and roll and everything. He was actually a fantastic philosopher, and he had a very unusual perspective in life, and I've always missed him, and I'll miss that shop, and I think it's unbelievable, really, you know.
You understand that the pressure is coming from online and big music warehousing, which don't have the same overheads or costs as perhaps a local family business might have. That's what sucked all the oxygen out.
I do, but I just have a feeling like that maybe things would turn, and like there's definitely a kind of a room for a place like that would have really high class kind of world music CDs. I mean, maybe if Sheena had incorporated like a kind of a CD section and a little cafe there, as well as the instruments, and make it into more just spread it out a little bit. But I absolutely understand, because I know myself in CD sales and that everything is online now. I hate it. I never buy it online on principle. I just wouldn't. It's too convoluted for me, and not very good in that. But I can absolutely understand it, and one bit of pressure after the next, and it's just very hard to take and very hard to keep going and have the strength to, you know, people say, you're part of the culture and the tradition, but it's hard enough to keep going, you know.
Did you buy anything there in your day?
Well, I have one up in Rory Gallagher, Neil. I bought an actual roundback bazooki, my first bazooki, which Mick Crowley went to fierce lengths to get in, not from Greece, but from Czechoslovakia or somewhere. And it was the first one in Cork, and maybe in Ireland, even in the south of Ireland anyway. And he took pains to get it into me. I had it for a long time, and it's a roundback bazooki, and it was the first one, and we were just. I remember Merton's Key as well, and Sheena's uncle and her aunt, and all of them were just fantastic.
Yeah. It really is taking the common touch or the Céad Míle Fáilte, you know, that's been taken very much out of, you know, much of retail now, hasn't it?
Well, people should ask, are we prepared to surrender completely now to the tyranny of the internet, and are we going to keep to stand up and say,
but you might see it as tyrannous, but it's cheaper, you see.
It's cheaper, but I mean, if you're going to be ordering, say, a lot of books, for instance, and instruments, you're going to have to pay a lot of money for carriage. Is it really cheaper?
Is it, Sheena?
No, not really, not at all. I mean, the thing is, many times our products were cheaper than they would have been on this big superstore as such, but people are, after getting very familiar with trading online, and it's become a habit, so they often don't check it out, you know. So
they automatically think it must be cheaper, and so therefore,
it's like sometimes you go into a pawn shop. I've had many experiences where my customers came in to me with problems with something they had bought in a pawn shop as such, and they spent more than the value of it. And then you're fixing it for them, and it's costing them more.
I know.
And you try to, you know, explain to them they need to go to people who know what's what with these instruments, you know. It was amazing. A woman bought a violin for €69 second-hand that we were selling for €69 new. The same violin.
That's amazing. That's amazing.
They had a problem with the bridge, and you're explaining it all. It's the same thing online, you know.
Okay, I'm afraid the line with Jimmy Crowley isn't great, but I do appreciate his kind words in that regard. You know, actually, interestingly, whether anybody's interested in this, when I started to do live gigs, as in you know, disco, and I earned, you know, for many years, it was what I did. I bought my first decks, speakers, amp, lights, all off your dad.
Wow, I didn't know that.
There you go. Yeah. And he did a very, very good trade for disc jockeys. I don't think you do that anymore, but at the time he had some serious kit, and it was amazing. And you could get it all in hire purchase and pay back every week and go and do your gigs and pay. It was just fantastic. And it was.
I remember my dad used to bring us as small kids into the shop, and we used to go down to the basement, and he'd put on the projectors with all the disco lights and everything.
That's
and
right.
He used to create this atmosphere for us. It's amazing, really amazing.
That was it. It was like a one-stop shop for all of the disco gear and everything. I don't know. Maybe all that has been got online now. I don't know anymore. But it certainly is sad. But you know, what is the story now? Are you closed? Will your stock become part of the liquidator?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That's the process now. You know. So as such, I won't be going back in there now at all. You know. So that's the end of it as such. And I have some people's instruments and repairs that I will get to them individually. I'll call around to everybody with them, but you know, because we used to do a lot of repairs for people and restoration and so on.
So anybody with anything like that, you'll be in touch.
I'll be on to them. I have everybody's phone numbers. Yeah. So, but it's very sad. I mean, when Jimmy mentioned the cafe and things, we've thought of every possible venture we could actually do, inside in the shop that would reduce or increase revenue. We were going to have a cafe. We were going to do lots of things, but there are so many regulations.
There are.
You wouldn't believe it. Every time you go about doing something, also money came into every single thing. I mean, as you know, we did the in-store gigs on Saturdays, and that was special. It was really special, and I would have loved to have done it in a bigger sense.
All that's grand, and selling coffee and cakes and stuff. You're surrounded by cafes, incidentally. So
exactly,
you need to sell musical instruments. That's what it's about, the bread and butter, and it's not a decision you took lightly, for sure.
Yeah, definitely not.
But like when people wanted to buy a musical instrument, unless they were buying it from you, they were probably buying it online, and the younger generation coming up are buying everything online, and it isn't just musical instruments, unfortunately.
Yeah.
There's
been a lot of goodwill from all the customers, but it doesn't add up in the end of the day.
You need to.
You go to all the lengths, and it's really not happening. So, it's sad. It's very sad. I mean, as Jimmy said there, he doesn't buy online. I don't mind spending a little bit more. Even I love my country, and I hate what's happening, and I understand, but it's very short-term vision, very, very short-term to say, I'm saving myself €10 by buying that online. If you think about all the transport system going around the world, going everywhere, sending... a guy came into my house one day from DHL, and he had a little package, and I said, it's not for me, and it was a tiny little slip of a thing for my neighbour, and where had it come from,
Mm-hmm.
It's crazy, the energy and to do these things. It's such waste, I think,
Mm.
I mean, I remember a woman wanted to buy a piano off me, and she rang me up and said, will I do it for $1,200? And I said, look, I've already reduced it from $1,399. That's the bottom line. And she came back to me asking me to get a little bit more off it, and then she said she can get it online for €80 less. And I was just thinking, this piano has been shipped from wherever, Germany to Ireland, because of €80. It's just, I think it's mad.
Mm.
And there's no service afterwards, and there's
if anything goes wrong with it, and you've bought it online.
Well, some of them, there may be a return policy, etc., but, you can come into us and get anything fixed at any time, really,
Mm.
So that was the thing as well. It was part of it.
But most of the instruments, were they all being made overseas as well, or is there much of many instruments being made in Ireland?
Yeah, I remember,
like violins and fiddles, for instance, they're all Chinese now.
Almost everything under €1,000 is Chinese. After that, you may be getting specialist handmade instruments. But I remember my Auntie Eileen, she used to work in the shop, and she said to me, I think I may even said this to you before, Neil, she asked me to do a window of Irish instruments, and I said, there aren't any Irish instruments, really. I mean, it's very sad, but we have a whistle made by Keynote in Dublin. That was it. Or Walton's maybe in Dublin. And that was the turn, and my dad used to say all the eggs are in one basket, and imagine all the containers leaving China to come over across Europe. Everything is coming from China, everything.
Yeah. And does that...
Maybe a bit of India now.
Maybe a bit of India. And are they kind of cheap and tacky and not very good?
Their standards did improve. They definitely did. But as I always say, if you take a handmade instrument out of a case, it actually immediately breathes and you feel it. Whereas the Chinese instruments, it's a dead energy. And that might sound nuts to many people, but if you understand instruments, they come alive. They do. It's an awful lot to do with the connection between the player and the instrument itself.
They do, absolutely. You're absolutely spot on in that regard, without a doubt. I know that, my daughter's been through, good God, would she have been through 7, 8 different violins, going through all of the sizes? She's got down through the years. She's bought some from you. She's bought many from Pro Musica. She's bought 1 or 2 from Patterson there on the Quay.
Oh, yeah.
Trying to spread the business, trying to spread the love. I mean...
But in Cork,
Yeah, and keeping it, in Cork. But I know that Ono Ravig is doing something with pipes above and Dripsy, isn't he?
Yeah, he's great, and he's teaching now as well, so it's good to see him making, isn't it?
Yeah.
And John Mitchell making pipes, and you're a piper yourself, aren't you?
I wouldn't flatter myself by calling myself that. I would love to be. Conor Leary is on standby. Is he on 2 or 3? Jack Brierley is there as well. I think it was Jim Condon was the person we were referring to in the Royal Show Band. My apologies with regards to the Strat. Con, good morning.
Good morning, Neil.
Quick call from you. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm very sad about Crowleys because years and years ago they were a very charitable crowd. We discovered that we needed a school for deaf kids in Lota, and everyone knows in the classroom down there, the government didn't want to know anything about it at the time. And Sister Louise O'Brien in the North Infirmary got on to me to know could we do anything to make a couple of bob, to buy something for the classroom. And in most classrooms, the most necessary thing that you need is a blackboard. But in the deaf school down there, what they needed was a bass drum. And we hadn't a shilling, right?
Yeah.
And we said it to one of the lads that knew someone in Crowleys, and Crowleys donated that drum to us, And that was really the start of anything being done in the city for the deaf kids, and I'd like to thank them for that, After that, we went on further, and we started fundraising with Mr. Pussy, as you were told about. Noel Magner used to get us the island room, and we done massive load of cabarets with Mr. Pussy, and of course Cork's own Mr. Pussy, the comedy man himself, Donny Gleeson, and he was known as Shirley Chassie. Then Noel brought Sonny Noel to Cork, and he was a massive hit, and we had Sonny Noel's G, because he was actually made an honorary Corkman by Mr. Goldberg when he was Lord Mayor. So these were all the things that started because of the Deaf Association and Cork.
See, what is going to happen? What is going to end up in the city is going to be nothing more than fast food joints, phone shops, and no disrespect to them, Tesco.
It is, and you know what's happening?
And Tesco will start selling musical instruments, like everything else that they sell. But the character...
It's terrible, sad, and I think an awful lot of people are going to feel this, that, and the way the city is going. You've highlighted it hundreds of times, and you're the council on sort of looking for ideas. The best idea is to leave them go rate free for a couple of years to build them up again. The council can do that. Instead of all this business, we're setting up a subcommittee for you to come in and tell us your ideas of what should be done with A, B and C. The main thing that's closing shops in the city is lack of customers, which means lack of money. If the council were interested in rejuvenating the city again, they'd do away on a temporary basis for those that need it with the rates and things like that.
Rates holiday. Well, then where do they get revenue from? Maybe that's for another day.
That's for another day,
yeah,
I think.
Okay.
But I must say thanks to Crowleys and thanks to all the people that helped the charities in Cork down through the years. But Crowleys were main supporters of us, and we can never, ever forget them.
Okay, thanks, Con. Jack Brierley, good morning, Jack.
Good morning, Neil. How are you?
I'm good. Thanks for calling. What's on your mind?
Now, I'm just want to say it's so sad to see Crowley's music shop closing down. And I'm sure Sheena will remember me dealing with her dad for many, many years. And we had some great times together, great chats and everything else. And it's so sad. I'm really, really upset about it.
Did you buy there, Jack?
Oh, I did indeed. I bought organs, keyboards, amplifiers, which Sheena knows, obviously.
Yeah.
Because I was dealing with Sheena as well, you know.
Yeah.
Oh, I did indeed. Well, I was dealing with Michael for at least 40, 50 years.
Do you not think it was inevitable, though, that this is the way we're going?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I'll tell you
and as
something,
Sheena says, you can't change the tide of cultural evolution.
I'll tell you something now, and you might laugh at this. I used to play for wedding receptions one time, you know?
Yeah.
And there was a wedding recently in a certain venue, and they had music for the wedding, and which was a computer.
Yeah, I know.
Believe it or not.
Yeah, I know.
Laptop.
Yeah, off a laptop, yeah. That's the way things are going.
That's what it's coming down to.
Yeah, that's for sure, without a doubt.
It's so sad. Will you give Sheena my regards?
Okay, lovely to hear from you, Jack.
Lovely to hear from you, Neil. Thank you.
What will you do now, Sheena?
Well, I'll just take a little break to think. I think I've lots of ideas always, but mostly it's about recovering. It's quite overwhelming, really, and it takes an awful lot out of you, and energy-wise and health-wise, and I want to spend time with Tia. Tia's sitting beside me here.
Your daughter?
And, she wants to say hello to you, but, I just want to spend a little quality time with Tia, and she'll be going back to school, and then I'll be looking for work, obviously, and I want something to do with musicians, because I just love them, and that's my life, so, hopefully, I don't know, I have ideas, as I said, but we'll see what happens. It's not negative anyway.
Yeah. Well, it may not be. I mean, you have to look at the glass half full as opposed to half empty. Yeah. But the inevitability of it is what makes me sad and almost angry as well. You know.
Oh yeah. I feel the same as you. I do. Totally, it's wrong. It's not good. You know. And there's lots could be done, and there's so much intervention, you know, but some of the heads you'll be talking to just don't get it, really, you know, and they don't see it.
Well, what the Germans don't have is they don't have to pay the rates that you have to pay, or the light, or the heat, you know, or the salaries, you know, or...
Exactly, the rates, and like for our
upkeep of a building. Yeah,
our building is 11,000 rates, and we're down on the rates books as a petrol filling station. And I brought this up, you know, I went to many meetings, and I said, look, I want to get this reviewed, and they said if I get it reviewed, it's going to probably go up.
Petrol station was there many years ago then, was it?
Yeah. There was an old car showroom, and our windows are big now, but they were even bigger back then.
Crikey.
So, yeah, it was lovely. I'd like to see an old photograph, but actually I remember seeing one at some stage with my dad where there was a man in kind of spats and the old suit, you know, type thing with the hat. Fantastic image, like, and I'd love to get a photograph.
You have a fierce love of McCurtain Street, don't you?
I do. I love it. It's absolutely brilliant street. There is no street like it. The activity there is so interesting, it isn't even funny, you know. You probably know, I'd say, you know, because you're very close to us and you would see a lot of what's going on, but there's some great characters, you know, and the buildings are interesting, and I don't know, it's something special.
I agree.
I hate that it's just the way out of the city, though. That's, I think, very damaging in itself, you know.
Yeah. Well, there's a special buzz about McCurtain Street that, you know, few enough. I mean, I'm just reading a book at the moment, which was given to me by Willie, the owner of the Maple Leaf down in Blackrock. It's a book from 1892, and it literally catalogues all of the different businesses in Cork. Yeah. Patrick Street, you're on what was King Street. Washington Street was Georgia Street, and it talks about all of the businesses, and there were so many. It was like a lucky bag of businesses. Much of them family. You could buy anything from an anchor to like literally, and that's all. You know, that's over because of the changes in, you know, shopping and online and purchasing. That's all gone now. And it's very sad to see that kind of a city gone. You know, that had so much character.
When I read some of the things that people are saying on Facebook, I mean, I feel tears. I feel so much, you know. It's because it's a loss to everybody, you know. They may not even have known or realised what not being a part of the city. You know, so many people don't come into town anymore. I mean, all the musicians I grew up with, they would have had a Saturday afternoon thing would have to be to go into Crowleys to buy or to try out a guitar or whatever. But, you know, it's all changed in the last, say, 10 years or so. And definitely for the worse of your own indigenous existence and your own culture and everything, you know. What are we about now, you know? I think it's awful, really awful.
So the professional musicians had taken to online as well, had they?
Yeah, big time, yeah. They did, unfortunately. They may buy accessories from you or whatever, but the large purchases would all be online. There was a time when our distributors, eventually they kind of started working with us and trying to reduce the cost of things to be able to match the online stores. And we did that in large cases, and often our stuff was cheaper than the business online. But we do, you see, you have to give up so much of your percentages. You almost aren't making anything on any of the products you're selling to match these prices as well, and that's not good for business, obviously, you know. Yeah. So
it is a generational thing. The generation that follow, like Tia, when she grows up, probably will do all of her shopping online.
Yeah, exactly.
It's just
yesterday, this should have been my shop. She was saying she was in the shop window with a sign, and it said closing down with a little sad face, and it said boo-hoo, and she wouldn't get out of the window for me.
Now, can I ask you, I don't mean this to upset you in any way, but do you feel in any way, with regards to, you know, Dad and everything, do you feel responsible or do you feel guilty?
No, because, you know, when I was writing that piece on the Facebook last night, I thought my grandfather worked in the shop for 30 years. You know, he set it up because he made instruments, and he wanted to sell all his own work that he was making. And then my father took it over and took it in a slightly different direction. And he worked there for 55 years. I worked there for 20 years, but I only ran it for 3 years. But when I took it over, it was already in debt, and I had to deal with all of that, and the hope that I could maybe reduce the debt fast enough before recession passed me out, you know, and that's basically what happened. No, I don't feel that I'm responsible for it closing. I think from the minute I was in charge, I was at helm as such, we've had one problem after the other.
No, of course
you should been inherited, you know.
No, of course you shouldn't
Yeah.
Of course you shouldn't, but
I think that inside me, though.
Yes, yeah.
No, I think
on your, you'd say, "Oh my God," on my watch, oh my God.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, what frustrated me is that all the ideas, initiatives that I would have. My dad was he was a fantastic man, but he was a cautious man. And when I said let's do the in-store gigs, he'd say we'll try one and we'll see how it gets on. And I'd go, no, you can't do it. You have to do it or not do it. You know what I mean? So there was many things he would have been nervous about doing.
Yeah.
And so, like, he didn't want to do a website. I couldn't get him to do a website, and he just said no. He kept saying this to me, and he said I know who would like what, and I know what it means to them, etc. And he eventually kind of knew, this is the way we have to go, but he found it very hard. So
yeah.
In all that time, I wasn't able to put up a website, and eventually we did, that it was a little too late,
Well, it's a generational thing, isn't it? It's, like change is painful, as the fella says. That's for sure. But listen, I imagine, sadly, there are other people out there who have second, third, fourth, fifth, even more generation down the line businesses that are feeling the pain, and the inevitability of what's coming down the track.
Yeah, I spoke to a guy I know whose family business has been there for nearly the same length of time, and he told me the other day that people are coming in and buying 2 rashers instead of a pack of rashers, saving money. And that's kind of just an indication of it's affecting him, it's affecting everybody, really. And it's very sad, really. People are that bit worse off, and they need to go online to get the best deal, but they're sending the money out of the country, so it's even worst case scenario again, like.
Well, yeah, it's even made worse by the fact that you say then that you're actually as cheap or even cheaper.
Yeah.
And people just inevitably didn't see that. Because they thought online has to be cheaper.
Yeah.
And
I screamed enough
okay.
about it, like. Yeah. My friend John O'Connor from John Bleck and the Rats did so much work for me on Facebook, putting up a lot of all the bargains we had, and there's only so much you can do, really. We put a lot of energy into it, I had a brilliant team of workers, like.
Yeah.
You have no idea how amazing those guys are. Incredible.
Yeah. And that must have been difficult then to talk with them at the weekend, I suppose.
Yeah, well, they knew what happened when my dad died. They knew what I was dealing with straight away, and they knew it was an uphill battle, and they were kind of willing to try with me, and again, because they loved my dad so much, he was like a father to them, he really was. I remember that very well, that when he died, the morning he died, I came into the shop and said, our father is gone, like, and when you're talking to Jack Brierley, I know what he meant to him as well,
Yeah.
I'm sorry for getting emotional, but it's just thinking of Noel and Trevor and all the lads that have worked with me. They've been so good. Can I just distract myself by 1 minute to hand the phone to my daughter Tia, because she just wants to say hello to you. But she wants to say hello to the customers as well. One second,
yeah, absolutely.
Hello, Neil, and all the lovers of radio in France, Paris, Lille, Cork,
France,
Senegal, whatever.
Hello, my friend. How are you?
Good.
Yeah?
Yep.
You have no problem talking on the radio show, you don't?
Yeah.
Did you want to say...
I actually never been on the radio before.
Right. And do you mind me asking you a very personal question? How old are you?
7.
7 years old. You're a great girl for 7 years old. I was just chatting with your mammy there about the music shop.
Yeah.
It's sad news to you.
Yeah. And I'm sitting right next to my mother in her car.
Yeah. So you're going to mind her and look after her. She's mad about you.
Yeah, and I'm staring at a picture of my granddad.
Right. Michael's your granddad. Remember him?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Michael.
So how are you enjoying the summer?
Good.
Yeah? What school do you go to?
Our Lady of Lourdes.
That's a good school. I know that school.
Hmm.
Yeah. And tell me, do you play any musical instrument?
I play the drums, I kind of play the guitar, I sing, and I kind of play the piano.
Wow, you're like a one-man band. And do you like playing music? Do you like playing the piano? My daughter is an awful girl trying to get her to play her violin.
Oh, God.
Very tough.
I play violin, but I'm very bad at it.
Well, you sound to me as if you played drums, violin, piano, guitar. That's amazing.
Sing and kazoo and tin whistle.
You make me feel so inadequate. All right, well, listen, Tia, it's lovely talking to you, all right?
Okay.
Okay, put me back on to Ma'am. Bye.
Okay. Bye.
I came out to my car because I have terrible reception in my house, and while I was sitting in the car, Tia tapped on the window saying, "Can I speak on the radio?"
I think you got a little Mozart on your hands there, have you?
She's mad.
She plays all those instruments?
Well, she has been around them all this time, so she tries them out, and she picked up a whistle, and I said, I'm not going to even show her what to do now and let her work it out. I didn't put any pressure on her, and she's getting to know the instrument, and eventually started making tunes out of it, so that's what I like, because I grew up and I had everything I could, as well, I had access to everything. And
do you play?
I play, yeah, but again, I would never call myself a musician. I play a lot of instruments as well, but not good at anything, really.
But no fear of them, you see, that's the thing.
Yeah. I love them. And I did the pipes as well with John Mitchell. I learned pipes for a period with John Mitchell as well. And I had so many different instruments, I could go for anything, really,
Yeah.
But anyway, so...
Tough.
That's
it's tough.
Anyway.
It's
Yeah.
tough. It's tough. What can I tell you? It's tough.
Yeah.
I hate conversations like this where we're saying goodbye to something that has been affected by technology moving so fast and literally just taking the oxygen out of the business.
Out of everything, yeah.
But listen, all the best, Sheena. Thanks for taking the call.
Neil.
Do stay in touch.
Thanks for all your mentions over the years too. You're very good.
And Anna, never. That's my pleasure. I'll read out some texts here from people who've been texting into 53096. And we'll talk soon, all right? We'll talk again.
Yeah, no bother. Thanks.
Cheers for now. Bye-bye. End of an era. Sheena Crowley. And little Tia as well, who's a great girl. Crowley's music shop, which closed on Saturday after 87 years. Opened back in 1926.